Radulescu. I'm a professor of medieval English literature and director of the Center for Arthurian Studies here at Bangor. Well, I remember coming into the archives for the very first time in the first week of arriving at Bangor to meet the late Tony Carr. That would have been in January 2005, so I've been coming to the archives for a long time. At the time I wanted to meet Dr. Carr in order to discuss the reopening or the relaunch of the paleography school that had been so famous at Bangor, to reintroduce teaching paleography and ecology with our students and the broader community here at Bangor University. The most recent books, rare books that I've been looking at are those from the Flintshire Harris and Bangor's own special collections, Arthurian editions. So rare books that represent the history of printing of the Arthurian legends in the English language and in other languages. Most particularly I've been looking at the Aubrey Beardsley Mallory. It's a rare edition printed, there were only 300 that were made of this, and it does represent the pinnacle of the arts and crafts movement. In some ways it represents the glory of the printed artifact and the revival of all things Arthurian. The other one that I have here that I've been working with is the Blackwell Broad Street Shakespeare Headpress edition from 1933, printed on handmade paper, which reproduces almost faithfully one of the first editions of Thomas Malory's Longmore Arthur, printed by Wynkin de Worde at Westminster. These two rare books are particularly, they're very special to me because we have worked with them in order to create an online exhibition to promote access to these rare examples of editions from the 19th century and the turn of the century of Arthurian legends. And some of our students on the MA in Arthurian literature have made discoveries in the archives which provide a context for the enjoyment and dissemination of Arthurian legends in print. That is a very hard question to answer. There are several. I would say I am a big fan, and one of my favourites is the Record of Carnarvon, that kind of equivalent of the 14th century equivalent of the Domesday Book for this area. And it is one of the first documents that the late Tony Carr introduced to me. Another one that I work with on a more regular basis is the 1634 Stansby edition of Malory's Maud Arthur, which is a very peculiar but also very special example of printing on the cusp between, I suppose, late Middle Ages, the early print, and the revival of all things ancient. It's very late for an edition to be printed in black letter, and at the same time to be split into so many volumes. It was certainly an advertising technique. And another feature that I really like about this book is the presence of a woodcut. That is a woodcut presenting Arthur and his Round Table Knights, very much in the style of the first editions by William Caxton and Wynkin de Worde at the turn of the 15th century. Bangor University's archives and special collections have always been unique. They're not only anchored in the history of the university, being here from the inception of the university. The collections were put together through donations of local scholars, believing in the future of this institution and scholarship, but also because they represent a good sample of what local history is about, as well as an anchoring in local legend, for my purposes, of course, Celtic and Arthurian legends, and how they're anchored in the locality, but also in a broader international scene. For me, certainly as a scholar working with Arthurian legend, the collections here at Bangor speak about the universality of what we do and speak about the indispensable element of studying rare books in a particular location, talking about a particular reading history with the names of owners and readers inscribed in the margins of our books, and how that participates in the bigger picture of how these legends cross linguistic boundaries, geography, yes, all around the world, and space and time, and also speak about investment in printing. Yes, the printing houses. We have glorious examples of different types of printing houses here in Wales, and these are very well represented in our collections. It is certainly important for us here at Bangor to preserve these Arthurian collections that have been built over more than a century in the Bangor University Library and Special Collections, but also with the addition of the Flintshire Harris collection. They preserve not only the efforts of those who put them together and added and lovingly curated them and preserved them, but also the efforts of scholars, generations of scholars here at Bangor. We're talking about the history of Arthurian scholarship, and we're talking about the desire of those who contribute to preserving heritage in this particular location to make and continue to make Bangor a place that flourishes in Arthurian and Celtic studies. We are the only place in the UK and in Europe that holds such impressive collections of this kind, with the only other centre of this kind in the United States at the Russell Hope Robbins Library, and we have a live and flourishing collaboration with them. It is our duty to preserve this for future generations and present this heritage in any way we can to the general public.